Hi, welcome to POV with me, Josiah on the Our Radio channel. And today we've got some interesting things to talk about, and most notably, I'll be talking about that Carabao Cup semi-final, second semi-final game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium between Tottenham Hotspurs and then also Liverpool, which had quite a lot of talking point, of course, from the pre-match procession onto the pitch till the game actually started, and then even after the game, the comment made by Virgil van Dijk and then also Liverpool manager Slot. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel, cause we always love to come your way with the latest update in the world of sport. So let's start off with a game where it was quite dubbed a blockbuster between these two sides, and whenever Liverpool have played against Tottenham Hotspurs, the game has usually seen goals. So everyone was expecting, to see this game, filled with goals. But unfortunately, that wasn't what we saw, because it was just Bilbao's last minute of, goal during the 86th minute or so that actually separated the two sides heading into the second leg. But what happened, prior to the commencement of the game? So, before the game started, in the tunnel where the Tottenham Hotspurs mascots have lined up, there was this little chap who made a very cheeky comment when Van Dijk was approaching the mascot. So the young mascot told Van Dijk in a very, very funny way that he wants him to join Tottenham Hotspurs because they do not currently have any good defenders. So that's quite funny. So that's just on the flip side. Prior to the game starts, it got a bit nervy between both sides, and even during the game, there were a couple of times you could see Van Dijk's frustration because Tottenham Hotspurs really created some decent chances that you'd be thinking that they should have scored on the day. But it was just until in the 86th minute where Bilbao, slotted from a pass from Solanke to give Tottenham Hotspurs the lead against Liverpool. Before then, Solanke himself had a goal chalked off, which he just couldn't believe it, but VAR actually had to intervene for Liverpool. So it was Bilbao that made the difference on the day. And this same chap had himself in a couple of actions during the game where even Liverpool defender Virgil van Dijk was thinking that the goal scorer should have been sent off even before he scored the goal, which I do not know if you would also subscribe or even agree to that, but that's what Virgil van Dijk said after the goal, Bilbao's goal that gave Tottenham Hotspurs the early advantage in the first leg heading into the second leg at Anfield. So quite a lot actually happened in the game, but Slot was quite pleased with the performance, saying that he believes maybe they could turn things around in the second leg. But most, of the attention still on Virgil van Dijk, who had a lot to say. But then also, many fans, or Tottenham Hotspur fans, if I should put it, were fuming that even Van Dijk should have been sent off for a very nasty challenge on Dominic Solanke. So it's a game that had quite a lot of talking points. The funniest one has to be Tottenham Hotspur's mascot asking Van Dijk to sign for Tottenham Hotspurs, and then also Virgil van Dijk thinking that the eventual goal scorer, that's Bilbao, should have been sent off before scoring the goal. Also, one of the main highlights of the game, which was quite an unwanted one, had to be Tottenham Hotspur's midfielder, that's Rodrigo Bentancur, collapsing on the pitch during the game. So it was quite a moment that you could, actually, compare to what happened to Christian Eriksen during the Euros when he collapsed on the pitch, and it really sent everyone into a very, very, shocking mood because no one actually expected it. So a corner kick was floated in, and Bentancur, trying to improvise, went in with a flying header, and moments later he just laid on the turf, irresponsive. But right after the game, or hours after the game, he came out, tweeted, not really tweeted, but took onto his Instagram, page to update that he's fine. And Tottenham Hotspurs themselves as a club also came out to say that their player is fine, and you see him with his girlfriend, on Instagram saying that he's fine, and thanked everyone, for their support and prayers. So now the Spanish Supercopa is currently ongoing, which has been played in the city of Jeddah in Saudi Arabia, and after 2017, the tournament took a different format where you have the game being even taken out of Spain to be played. So the 2018 version of the Supercopa España was played in Morocco, where it was Barcelona and then Sevilla also playing in that particular one. And since then, it's just been played once, since 2018 in Spain, and that was in 2021 due to traveling restrictions during the COVID time. So this one was actually played in Saudi Arabia, where Barcelona had a 2-0 win over Athletic Bilbao, and it was Gavi who put Barcelona ahead very early in the game, and then Lamine Yamal with a very sweet finish to make it 2-0, to knock out Athletic Bilbao. So this game also had quite a number of highlights. Both players for Barcelona on the score sheet were teenagers. So Gavi scoring, and then also Lamine Yamal, who is only 17 years of age, also scoring in that game, which led to manager Hansi Flick pouring lots of praises on these two chaps, saying that they are one for the future. But away from Barcelona, let's look at Athletic Club, where Inaki Williams captained the side in that 2-0 defeat. So after the game, the Ghanaian international actually was egged. Why? Because he had a couple of chances that went begging, and then also he had a goal disallowed by VAR, for what seemed to be a foul on a Barcelona player en route to the goal. So it wasn't really a pleasant night for the Ghanaian international, who also granted an interview, raving about the distance Athletic Bilbao had to travel all the way to Saudi Arabia to handle the game. So his issue has to do with proximity, thinking of, saying that it would have been ideal and proper for the games to have been played in Spain. Now, after 2018, the new format was that the winners of the league and then the runners-up of the league, as well as the winners of the Copa del Rey and then the runners-up of the Copa del Rey, meet in the semi-finals. Then the winners of the respective games would make it to the final, and then the winner eventually will be crowned. But it's not been so smooth for these teams, because mostly it's just as a result of commercial reasons that they have to take the whole tournament, the Supercopa España, from Spain all the way to the Middle East for the games to be played. So in 2018, the game was played in Morocco. In 2021, it was played in Saudi Arabia. No, in 2021, it was actually played in Spain. And then since then, it's always been played in Saudi Arabia. So, one could say that whatever Inaki Williams is saying doesn't really hold water, because this is not the first time actually that the Supercopa España has been played outside Spain. Yes, he was raving, he was very, very vexed, and he felt that the Spanish FA shouldn't have allowed that to happen. But do you also agree with Inaki Williams that yes, we've seen the games or the Supercopa España being played in Saudi Arabia a couple of times, but do you think it's the right call? Because just recently PSG and then also Monaco were in Qatar to play for the French Super Cup. So is that a new routine, or you feel that the Spanish FA should be lenient? So the Carabao Cup has gotten to the semi-final stage, where Arsenal were at home, hoping to at least try and lay their hands on the trophy, since Liverpool seemed to be running away with the Premier League title, and they had Newcastle in their way, just to brush aside before fighting in the final at Wembley. But after 90 minutes, it didn't really look pleasant for Arsenal and their fans, because they lost by 2-0. And Alexander Isak kept on just taunting them throughout 90 minutes. He scored the first goal before Anthony Gordon also pounced on a rebound after an initial effort from Alexander Isak to make it 2-0 for the Magpies. So Arsenal would have it to do it the hard way after falling 2-0 to Newcastle at home, which has left their fans fuming. But for Newcastle, it provides them with another golden opportunity to go back to Wembley and see if they can win something. The last time they were at Wembley was in the Carabao Cup, the same competition, but this time in the final against Manchester United, where they lost by 2-0. So this time they think that it will be a perfect time, looking at the project after the takeover from the Saudi owners, it would be a perfect time to reward all this investment with a trophy. But then one of their players has been the talk, of attention now. He's actually been at the center of attention in recent times, before the game, during and after the game, and that's Alexander Isak, whom Arsenal fans feel was the difference on the day. And if they had someone like Isak to bang in the goals for them, then perhaps they could be challenging for the Premier League and then also the UEFA Champions League. And, Newcastle have been quite adamant and then also reluctant as far as letting that's Alexander Isak leave, because they feel that he's a world-class striker and they are building the team around him. But Arsenal fans had their say after they lost at the Emirates, and that's what the fans had to say after they lost in the first leg. All right, so let's move to the Premier League. Let's talk a bit about coaches moving and coaches coming in, because the latest team to have parted ways with their coach is West Ham United. They have asked Julian Lopetegui to step down after a round of abysmal results, which to the management of the club doesn't really help their project and their cause. So it's been announced that former Brighton and Hove Albion manager, as well as former Chelsea manager Graham Potter, will be the new coach of West Ham United. But the question is he the right man for the West Ham job? We saw David Moyes do a fantastic job with West Ham a couple of seasons ago, leading them to their first ever European trophy in the UEFA Conference League. And since then, Lopetegui replaced him, and it's never been the same for West Ham. And, talking about Graham Potter, there's a man who rose to prominence after joining Brighton and Hove Albion and, did some marvelous and wonderful things with them. Then Chelsea came for him, but his time at Chelsea didn't really last after, he lost numerous games and left the team hanging in 11th place in the Premier League. So since then, he's really been, cool, out of the scene, not really being on the screens and all that. And now West Ham believe that he's the right man to take them to the level they deserve to be. But, you talk about Graham Potter and his time at Brighton and Hove Albion and the kind of football they played over there, which was really attractive, normally setting up in the 3-4-2-1 system, or sometimes the 4-1-4-1 system, or even the 4-2-3-1 system. And, under Potter during his time at Brighton, we saw players like Leandro Trossard, we saw players, like quite a lot of them. Tyke Lamptey played under him. Louis Dunk, Dan Burn. So these are players that actually, proved their worth during Graham Potter's time at Brighton and Hove Albion, until he moved to Chelsea. And, at some point, everyone believed that the job was just too big for him, and he just wouldn't be able to survive over there, which actually came to pass, and he's not been in action since. But now West Ham have their new manager, who is Graham Potter, and he's going to work with players like Jarrod Bowen, Mohamed Kudus, Lucas Paquetá, Edson Alvarez, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Vladimir Soufal. So these are elite players he could get to work with. But do you think that West Ham is an ideal team for Graham Potter? And do you also believe that he is the man to lead them to where they deserve to be?